What's up guys, thanks for tuning into the channel. And today's video is about reaching 30,000 miles on the C8 Corvette and what the wear looks like. I bought this as my personal daily driver, so I take it everywhere with me. You name it, I've driven through it. That being said, I think it's a good time to check out how the wear is on the C8, and that's what we're gonna go over today. So with that being said, let's get started. So the first thing we can take a look at is the paint job. Obviously, most of the wear is going to be on the front of the C8, and that's something actually I had looked at more in depth at 28,000 miles, just because I was kind of sick of all the paint chips that were on the front of my C8. Which, mind you, I'm not driving on anybody's butt when I'm like driving. I give a good amount of distance. It's just Texas roads are what they are, and there's a lot of rock chips that get flown up. If you want to know more details, I would definitely check out that video. So the next thing we can take a look at is the interior of the C8 after 30,000 miles. So in general, the interior has actually lasted pretty well, or not too bad. The biggest thing I saw was actually on the actual sides of the seat, on my end especially. I'm a bigger guy, so you definitely do see a little bit of wear going through that, and I can definitely show you that right now. So you can see a lot of this area here has a bit of wear. You got some wearing going on here in some of the actual like main high rubbing areas of the C8. But in general, the rest of the C8 is actually pretty darn good in regards to the interior. It's lasted pretty well with no issues. There's no bubbling that I've had on any kind of the leather surfaces. I've gotten lucky on that. I've seen other people have those kind of issues before, but yeah, in general for my C8, it's not been that much of a issue, as you can see. Pretty solid overall in regards to the interior, looking pretty darn good considering. And I mean, in general, the wear I've seen on the seats themselves is obviously a lot more apparent if you have a lighter interior kind of deal. You can see it even on my passenger side. There's still a bit of wear that you can get from that. But overall, I mean, when you have these pretty clean, the biggest spots that you're going to see pretty much a lot of wear is the areas I showed you on the actual driver's seat. If you're not if you're not as big of a guy like I am, you probably won't have that as much, but you might have that a little bit. And you're obviously not going to see that as much if you have a darker interior. So in hindsight, it does lend itself to choosing to have a darker color interior than the natural. So would that change my opinion of whether I would have gone with a natural interior or a black interior? No, I still love my interior and I would definitely choose it. It's just something to keep in mind of something that probably is going to show some wear, especially after 30,000 miles in the C8. By the way, thank you to my subscribers who have been watching all my videos. I really appreciate all the feedback that I've been getting so far. If you're new to the channel, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. It really helps the channel grow and lets me know that I'm going in the right direction with all this. So the next thing we can talk about is the engine compartment and see how that's looked. So let's take a look at that real quick. So looking at the actual engine bay, it's actually held up pretty well. I mean, I haven't really done much in here in regards to any kind of engine wear that you can see of anything looking decently worn out or whatnot, at least at 30,000 miles. Everything looks pretty well maintained. The actual trunk space, the carpeting looks in really good shape. In general, most of the stuff I use in there are just like groceries and stuff. I don't put any kind of heavy Home Depot type pieces in there, even though there have been also. But overall, it's all been kept pretty darn well. So I'm actually pretty happy with how that looked. Going into the frunk, it is kind of a bit of the same thing. I mean, you'll see that for the most part, there is no issues in regards to any kind of wearing on the actual fabric of the frunk. The panels are still looking good. No type of issues in that regards. So yeah, I mean, all of those compartments are looking pretty good at 30,000 miles, which you would hope. The biggest thing I've seen wear so far, at least, is the interior in regards to your seats. You might have a little bit of wear on the seats, especially if you have a lighter interior like your natural dipped or your gray as compared to the black. Now at 30,000 miles, have I had any kind of mechanical issues? I would say yes and no. Yes, I've had a few check engine light issues, but they've been primarily because of my Borla Attack exhaust system. My C8 was one of the first to get it, so there was a lot of trial and error with that. But that being said, they were all superficial. It wasn't any kind of big issue in regards to the C8 and trying to have it work correctly. That being said, over the 30,000 miles, I have had a few warnings come through, including dreaded rear axle off, saying that my transmission is about to blow up or whatnot. I've had the idle creep disengaged error. Interesting, I've had the blind spot alert say that it was temporarily disabled. That only ever happened once. Worked just fine after that one specific drive, and that was in like heavy rain, so I have no idea why it threw that. I did have it that my front lift system did give me an error that it was temporarily disabled at one point, but that was only occurred on a steep incline like my driveway. My driveway has a hefty incline on it, and it only happens if I'm driving the car forward rather than if I back it in. So I think that has to do something with the amount of brake fluid level I have, probably not hitting the reservoir just right. So that's something I'm gonna have to check out and see, but it works flawlessly every single time otherwise. It's just in that specific instance that it doesn't want to do anything. In regards to any kind of major things, I've been lucky. I have not had any transmission, like anything that requires that the transmission get replaced. I haven't had any kind of AC failures or failures in any of the shocks so far. I've been pretty lucky, and I really drive this car on a daily. Doesn't matter, rain or shine, it's getting driven. So the only time I'm not driving is obviously if there's like a tornado here in Texas, or if it's completely snow or ice over. I can't really drive it in that kind of condition. But every other instance, I'm pretty much driving this car. So overall, I mean, this car for a daily driver, it's been absolutely great. It's a great grocery getter if you have a small to medium sized family. Obviously, if you're trying to go to Costco to feed a family of 5 or 6, you might not be able to do that in this, obviously. But like, if you got a small family, this can pretty much do every single job out there, except for anything regarding going to like a Home Depot and you're trying to get a whole bunch of 2x4s, obviously. But it works great otherwise. So I hope you guys found this video informative. If you like this video, please check out any of my other how-to videos like this one here for your C8 or car needs.